Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another episode of what is our Arsenal news show on finally Friday. It's here. Friday, it's here. It means that the weekend's here, because for me, I don't know about you, but the Friday is the start officially of the weekend, and that means it's the return of Premier League football as well, which is so needed. It just kind of brings such a better feel to us as well over our weekends, having football back in our lives. So yes, very happy indeed that it is finally Friday. I hope that you've had a fantastic week. I hope that you've done well. I hope you've had a really good time, and that you stayed safe, and that your families and friends are all good too. Let's jump into the chat box and say good morning to people. Good morning to Mark, to Morgie, to Phil, to Penny Ween, to Jimbo. Good morning to Sweating Merlot. Good morning to Trevor. Good morning to Penny Ween. Good morning to everybody that's joined us today and that continues to do so over the course of our shows. I know that StreamYard's mugged some people off there. Let's see if I can even find, if YouTube can. A1, good morning, Amira Blackshine, Johnny, Mark, Jimbo, Stephen, Martin, Jose, Paul, Davids, Matt G, MRM, and Clock Orange, and everybody else as well joining us. Thank you, everybody. It's very much appreciated. Let's crack on with today's stories. Oh, quick thing. Two things. A, the microphone may have an issue today, but good news is something hopefully will be changed today. I'm having an engineer brought out to have a look at the laptop, so hopefully everything gets fixed and sorted, and really do appreciate the help that will hopefully come in fixing this problem. So if there are any issues today, of course, just let me know straight away in the chat box and I can fix it, but hopefully we'll get a proper fix. Next part of that is, it does say that they're arriving between 8 and 1. Now, usually what happens is when they give you those time frames, they don't turn up until right at the end of the time slot. But there is a chance that during this show, the doorbell goes and we have to somehow finish very quickly. So we're going to rattle through all the news, and then we're going to take your questions as quick as we can, just in case we have to cut this show short. Right. Let's go into the chat box then. And actually, we're not going to do that. We're going to go into the slides and take all of today's topics. Here we go. Of course, yesterday we completed our Eat, Sleep, Arsenal Repeat podcast with Jared, the Doc, and Owen, Arteta and rotation. We talked a lot about, and of course, we talked about Vinai Venkatesham leaving, as well as some other topics. But specifically on Vinai, if you have missed the news, the Arsenal CEO is indeed expected to step down, and will step down at the end of the season. What will happen after that remains to be seen. We'll have to wait and see. But certainly Vinai, who has been at the club since, well, for quite a long time actually, but he's been in that position of CEO since I think it's 2021-ish. He obviously took over from Ivan Gazidis in 2018, and he and Raul Sanyehi were part of the squads regarding Unai Emery's time at the club, and then things changed, and the technical director became the sporting director, and Vinai, who was the commercial lead officer, became the CEO, and we brought people in to be head of different departments. So yeah, Vinai will leave. He says this was a tough decision, but it is time to pursue another challenge. Now is not the time for goodbyes, as I remain focused until my last day and supporting a seamless transition. Josh said the board is fully supportive of Vinai's desire to pursue his next challenge. Whilst it is business as usual, everyone focused on the season ahead. We'd like to take this moment to thank him for his contribution and long service. Vinai will always be part of the Arsenal family and always welcome back at the Emirates Stadium. Change and succession is something the club is well prepared for. The board remains committed to our strategy and will address leadership change as we continue to drive the club forwards. So there you go. Certainly that is a significant updates regarding the executive level of the club. Regarding some awards, though, the FIFA's Best of 2023 has seen nominations for Declan Rice, Caitlin Foord, and Amanda Ilestedt, who are all nominated for an award this season, this year for 2023. Massive congratulations to all of them, and hopefully they can bring home the trophy in one way, shape, or form. It's going to be very difficult. There's a lot of really top players, of course, in these lists, but hopefully we can see a award to Arsenal. And Arsenal did complete a signing on deadline day yesterday. Kyra Cooney-Cross arrived. Fantastic announcement video yesterday. Everyone didn't really think anything much was really going to happen. I know Tim Stillman was reporting that Arsenal were looking at Cooney-Cross is a potential option, but the 21-year-old midfielder has joined Arsenal from Hammarby. She's an Australian international. She's already at the age of 21, amassed quite a number of caps, 39 in total, and she helped Hammarby win the Swedish Cup last season. She's a midfielder and will hopefully add to the options for Jonas Eidevall as he looks to really take on the WSL next season without a distraction of Champions League, because we don't have Champions League next season, sadly, or this season, because of the frustration in qualifying against Paris FC. So yes, but Kyra Cooney-Cross, welcome to Arsenal. I hope that she can be a fantastic asset for us. Ben White is said to be in talks over a brand new contract. I've said this for some time, that there's an expectation that talks indeed would get underway, and it seems to be the case that is indeed happening. So yes, Ben White's new contract, hopefully in the next, well, the foreseeable future is probably the best way to put it. And our headline story of the day, Martin Odegaard is in talks for progressing to the conclusion of a brand new contract. And hopefully we get some brand new information and news regarding that new contract in the coming days, weeks, hopefully not months, but certainly weeks. That would be fantastic to see. So yeah, really, really cannot wait to see Martin Odegaard sign a new contract and sign for the long term as well. Right, let's move to part 2 and your questions then right after this. Of course, before we get into the questions, I should tell you that we will be doing a preview show this evening at 5 p.m. UK time, looking ahead to Arsenal's game against Everton. So do make sure you join me and the members to jump on this afternoon / this evening to have a chat about what is going on in the world of Arsenal's next game. Lovely stuff. Right, let's go to the Q&A. And get some of your questions. Marcus says, reference my question yesterday. It was Andreas Judson who left at 21. He was there and we barely conceded from corners. Now we're not the same in this concern. I see. Okay. So Andreas Judson was the guy, the set piece specialist alongside Jonas, alongside Nicholas Jova. So yes, it's a fair point. And maybe that is something to do with it. But does that mean that as a coach, he wasn't able to instill his tactics enough that they carried over for the long term? Is there something that we should be pointing out about that? I think that's certainly something to maybe consider when thinking about where if you're a good enough coach, would those lessons be good enough to kind of linger and stick with the side? Apparently not. Jordan says, Tom, how and where do I regularly watch the Arsenal under-21s? Difficult question, Jordan. Sometimes they're broadcast, sometimes they're not. A good way is to always check the opposition's kind of coverage of their under-21s, find out who Arsenal are playing, of course. And depending on who we are, sometimes they show it on their YouTube channels or on their websites. But there isn't really a specific way to watch them. Sometimes Arsenal broadcast their own under-21 games or their under-18s games. But it's a bit of a hit and miss, sadly. Yeah, we don't really know when and if they're going to come up and be able to be spoken to. So, yeah, sorry, I can't give you a better answer than that. But the best advice I can give you is to always check the opposition websites, because often they show them when Arsenal aren't. So, yeah, certainly worth having a look into. Huki says, Tom, do you think Arteta should employ the tactic of using psychedelics on the players to interconnect their consciousness and merge into a singular multi-dimensional unit that can defeat any team? Huki, that is quite the question. And I have no experience of what psychedelics would do to a football team, but I imagine that they're probably against the rules. So I'm going to lean towards no. But interesting idea. Very interesting indeed. William says, who would I like to replace Venkatesham? I honestly don't really know, William, to be honest, because my understanding of the people in the game on that side of the game, like without the football, if you like, it's very, very different to what I understand about the footballing side and the transfers and sporting directors. So it's difficult for me to say. I've had some hilarious suggestions of Ed Woodward. I've had some other hilarious suggestions of Vince McMahon. Yes, I don't think anyone really knows who they would like to see come through the door. Paul Martin reckons that Kyra Cooney-Cross is going to be the best signing of the window for Arsenal. Can't wait to see her in an Arsenal shirt and playing. It's going to be interesting to see how she fits into Jonas's plans. Maximilian says, hey, Tom, looking at Vinai leaving in a nutshell, could you mention what a CEO does? He has been doing his job quietly, and that should be a good thing, unlike some of our rivals. If you listen to yesterday's Eat, Sleep, Arsenal, Repeat podcast, we go into detail about Vinai, and the doc talks a lot about the position of a CEO and what they do. So I would recommend going back and watching yesterday's Eat, Sleep, Arsenal, Repeat podcast for all of the in-depth stuff on Vinai. We talk about him in a lot more detail with people who know a lot more about those positions than I do. Tom says, with Erik ten Hag not letting Sancho train with the team until he gets an apology, would you like Arsenal to try for him, and would it be a good idea? The idea of bringing Jadon Sancho into Arsenal is something that I have debated internally with. It's something I've written about. I think that there is certainly an amazing talent there. And if you can harness that ability, you've got yourself a brilliant player. The problem is we're already trying to do that with Kai Havertz. And Kai Havertz is without a doubt a very talented player with lots of ability, but whose confidence and form is through the floor. And we are in the process of a bit of a revival project, if you will. And so therefore, I think that it would be a little bit, it would be a little bit of a challenge to add another project, another revival project into the side. I think it's certainly worth saying that I'm not a big fan of how Jadon Sancho has been treated at Manchester United, to be honest. I think the player's mental health is certainly a factor in this, and it's being seemingly ignored at the moment, which is not great. And Drew talked a lot about this on last week's Eat, Sleep, Arsenal, Repeat podcast about Jadon Sancho. And yeah, not the best, I don't think. And, I thought the comments publicly from Ten Hag just weren't great at all. I'm not surprised that it got a response from Sancho. Nav says, how's everyone this morning? Sorry, I had to join a little bit late. Had a morning rush. No problem at all, my friends. And I hope that you got in all good and well. And we're all doing well, mate. All doing well indeed. Foord says, Tom, sorry for my silly question, but does or will Football London start covering the academy and women's football like other outlets, or is it solely the men's senior team? Well, our team's got smaller over the last year. So unfortunately, resources have not been as open. What I would say is that Football London is part of a bigger network called Reach, and so Reach own outlets like the Mirror and like the Express, and so the Mirror and the Express, because they've got bigger resources than us, they do a lot of dedicated stuff towards the women's side of the game. And on the Football London side of things, it is mainly the men's team. But what I would say is that a colleague of mine, Aaron Catterson-Reid, is doing a lot more with youth football. He went to the last under-21s game. He's going to be going to the under-19s European game. So, yes. But basically, Football London isn't kind of a singular outlet. It's part of a bigger network with other outlets like the Mirror, for instance, doing a lot more on women's football because they've got the resources and the time to be able to do so. So I hope that answers your question, mate. Vera says, no sympathy for those Mancunians. The crumbling of United after losing to us is glorious. Oh, without a doubt. It's more I'm looking at the player individually, and that's what. And Brian says he needs to take accountability for his own behaviour towards training. I know there's been these suggestions, but I think that it's certainly worth pointing out that there could be something deeper going on that we're just not aware of, and certainly that has been suggested as well. So it's certainly worth taking that into account. Byron says, I'm not convinced about Kai that he needs to earn his place given Vieira and Smith Rowe some starts. Maybe that will allow Kai to come on and make a difference and build some confidence. I've said this before. I think building him up from the bench might be the way forwards for Kai Havertz, but it's difficult to see Arteta dropping him because he just seems so enamoured by him and wanting him to succeed that I probably will expect Kai Havertz to start the game on Sunday. He did obviously get a fantastic assist for Germany in their game against France, which would hopefully give him some confidence as well. And having his height in the team against that very tall Everton team might as well be a bit of a benefit for us. We talked a lot about who we would start in that show yesterday, and we'll obviously do that as well in tonight's show in the preview ahead of the game on Sunday as well. Let's go to James. Thank you so much, mate, for becoming a brand new member. Really appreciate you joining the family. Is there a special dance required for an updated Discord link? Have been listening for a while and finally remembered to join as a member. Thanks for the content, Tom. James, I will make sure after I've completed today's show to put a brand new link in the community tab for our new expert members and TGT ambassadors. So yes, don't worry. After the show's done, I'll put a new link in the community tab for you, fella. So don't you worry. Gaboyega says, don't you think Arteta should rest Saka this weekend or at least make him start on the bench considering his Achilles tendon issue? I believe we have the quality to play without him. To be honest, the club will know what's best. There's been a lot of hype around this story about him managing an issue. What I would say is that a lot of players, if not most players, if not all players, are carrying something at some point. And it was just kind of an article that pointed out that Saka's got an Achilles thing that he's kind of managing. But every player manages different injuries throughout every single season. So it's not an injury. It's just something that's being kind of managed and monitored. So there's very difference between monitoring what is a kind of an increased risk, if you like, and an injury. They are two very, very different things. He's not injured. He just has kind of this thing that he's being monitored for. The Achilles that's kind of flared up or has been giving him a bit of grief. There's very different things between that and an injury. So it's worth knowing the difference between the two. Penny Wayne says, Tom isn't addressing the disappearance of Matt G. I don't know where Matt G is. I sent him a message on Discord yesterday about something separate, and like I haven't heard from him, but I know he jumps into the chat box every morning. So I was hoping that I'd be able to give him a nudge to reply to it. It's just something we talked about at the live show. That I wanted to chat. It's genuinely nothing that exciting. Vero says, I really think Kai is going to surprise a lot of people against Everton. He has 3 goals in 3 games against the Blues. I really hope that we see him score, assist, get a goal contribution, have a good performance. We just need to kind of push under the carpet, regarding what all of this crazy furore about negativity around Havertz. That's what we need to try and do, at least. Matt G is going to be the new CEO of Arsenal, indeed. Imagine what would be Matt G's first port of call if he became CEO. Derek says, hi, mate. Just got my PSV ticket, buzzing for Wednesday on the weekend. I think Tommy at left back and Jesus up front. Interesting. I'll indeed be at both games. I've got my accreditation for both now. Looking forward to getting up to Everton. I am going to be staying. I was trying to reach out to people to see if anyone's going to the game on Sunday, that they're going to be staying in Liverpool overnight, because I know that I am. But so far, everyone I know that's going to the game is going back that same night. So it's going to be me and just chilling in a hotel room until the train the next morning. But the frustrating part about living in where I do in Medway in Kent is that you have to get a train from where I am to London and then London up to wherever you want to go. And what often that means is because I have to, I extend my stay at the stadiums for an hour or two beyond full time. So I'll probably be at Goodison Park till about 8 o'clock. So by the time I get to Liverpool Lime Street to get a train back to London, there won't be any more trains back to where I live at that time. So I usually have to stay over in these places. And Victoria is an absolute nightmare tomorrow as well. So yeah, it's just not feasible. So I'll be staying over and getting the train back on Monday morning, which means you will be getting an 8 a.m. show from Merseyside on Monday morning. Phil says, now that Tommy has evolved into a super Tommy, do you think Arteta will play him at centre back? He was a bit of a super Tommy, wasn't he? It's for Japan in their game against Germany. He was fantastic. But yeah, Omar says, get a car. Yeah, I have a car, Omar, but I have one car between me and the missus. So, I can't just take the car for 2 days, sadly, because I'm not the only one in this world that exists in the family that needs it. So it's not as simple as driving. And also, if I drive, I can't work, because if you have a train, you can work on the train. So a car stops you from doing that. So there are benefits to using a train in that sense. And plus, last year I drove for the Everton game because it was like a midday-ish kickoff. So I could drive up and get back as well. And it's just not the best of drives up to Liverpool, to be honest. Did not enjoy it. Where I live, you have to go like all the way around the M25 and then up the M1, and it is a lot. Matt G's back in the chat. There he is. Matt, you need to reply to me on Discord, my friend, please. Thank you. Can I get all teacher voice in a minute? Any update on Saka situation? No, other than it's just something that's being monitored. I think there's been a lot of hype created around this. Yes, there's something there, but it's just being monitored, and he will be monitored continually with this problem. I will not be doing Monday's show in a Scouse accent. I'd quite like to make it back from Liverpool without me mocking their accent. Abdul says, hey, Tom, why do you think our record is bad at Everton? And are you confident we'll set it right this weekend? I'm always confident and optimistic that we will. It's mainly because we haven't been doing well at defending set pieces, and we haven't been doing well at defending crosses. And they've scored a lot of their goals from those types of situations. So if we stop those, we should be okay. But yeah, of course I'm confident. Of course I'm confident. Boss said we should swap Kai and Martin's positions. Certainly something I'm curious about. Kai, I think, is better on the right than on the left. And I do think that maybe that is where we could get more from him. So let's wait and see. Foord, Arteta's press conference is early this afternoon. You'll be getting coverage and a live blog of that if you aren't able to watch it on the Arsenal website, on the Football.London live blog that I'll be covering. So make sure that if you do need to get all the updates from the press conference, that you're doing that on the Football.London presser live blog. But early this afternoon is the press conference where we'll hear plenty more about Saka's injury, about Partey's recovery, about the Everton game. So yeah, plenty still to come. Anyway, we're going to wrap things up there. Hopefully, well, we've managed to do a show, touch wood, without any mic issues this morning. We did it also yesterday. Hopefully everything's going to be fixed. Hopefully the engineer that's coming out today sorts out the laptop and can solve this problem and we won't be having it anymore. I'm also looking to do some stuff video-wise for Football.London at games now a bit more. So look out for that on the Arsenal way. But I hope you've had a fantastic morning. I hope that you are safe and well in your life, as is those around you. And yeah, I will speak to you a little bit later on this afternoon, 5 o'clock, preview show, Arsenal against Everton. Make sure you set your clock, set your alarms, and I will see you then. Have a great day. And as always, up the Arsenal and up the weekend.